Ah, in. My children, come closer. Yes, you with the tired eyes and the hungry heart. Sit beside this old storyteller and listen, for what I bring you today is not just a tale. It is a truth hidden beneath the rags. He was a man with more money than sense, more houses than friends, yet his heart was empty like a calabash cracked in the sun. He walked away from power, from gold, from fame, just to find one thing money could not buy: true love. But what he found in the arms of a poor woman will make your spirit tremble. So grab your drink, hold your wrapper tight, and prepare your heart, because this, my children, is the story of Beneath the Rags. And before the fire burns too low, do this for old Iansi. Click subscribe so you never miss the next tale. Smash that. Like if you believe in love that money can't buy. Drop a comment below. Would you fall in love with someone who had nothing? And share this story with a friend who needs to remember that the heart sees deeper than pockets. Let the drums roll. The story begins. The city lights gleamed below as Damien Cole stared out from the 47th floor of his penthouse suite, sipping whiskey that tasted like betrayal. Billionaire, tech mogul, desired by all, but truly known by none. Tonight, he'd uncovered the final truth. Melissa, his stunning fiancée, wasn't in love with him. She was in love with the lifestyle, the glitz, the cameras. A private investigator named T-Cover had confirmed it. Her sweet words were rehearsed, her kisses calculated. Damien turned off his phone, threw his Rolex onto the marble floor, and sat alone in his $15 million apartment that now felt like a cage. He didn't want this life anymore. Not the empty handshakes, not the shallow praise. If love existed, it wouldn't find him here. Not in a place where people smiled at his money, not his soul. So, he vanished. No press release, no farewell tour. Damien Cole, billionaire genius, walked into the night wearing torn jeans, a faded hoodie, and a plan. To find one person who could love him when he had nothing. Only then would he believe in love. Damien didn't just disappear. He erased himself. He withdrew cash in small amounts from different accounts, donated his car to a charity under a fake name, and tossed his platinum credit cards into a sewer grate downtown. By sunrise, the city's most eligible bachelor was a ghost. He wandered the streets of Lagos, far from the skyscrapers of his former life at Echo Atlantic City, where the smell of roasted peanuts mixed with sewage, and neon lights buzzed over cracked sidewalks. He had no driver, no assistants, no bodyguards, just a backpack, a tattered jacket, and his silence. The first few nights were brutal. Cold concrete didn't care about status. Hunger gnawed harder than any business rival. His pride cracked as he dug through trash behind diners. A drunk man spat on him once. A teenage boy tossed coins at his feet and called him trash. But he stayed, because this was real. Damien wanted to feel pain, to bleed like an ordinary man. Only then could he spot someone who saw past his disguise. Not a billionaire in rags, but a soul looking for truth. And maybe, just maybe, love. Rain had soaked through Damien's hoodie by the time he stumbled into the Haven Light Shelter, half-starved, stiff, and invisible to most. But she saw him. Amara. She wasn't beautiful in a flashy way. No designer hair, no artificial smile. just tired eyes, thick braids wrapped in a scarf, and a voice that wrapped around you like warm cloth. She was helping an old man adjust his socks when she noticed Damien's shivering frame by the door. "You need food?" she asked gently, not flinching at his smell or his stubble. He nodded, afraid to speak. She smiled anyway. "Come on, we don't bite." She handed him a tray, rice and beans, no questions asked. Later she returned with dry socks, a blanket, and a cup of watery tea. "Name?" He hesitated. "Dan," he lied. "Dan," she repeated, "you're safe here." For a moment, Damien forgot the cameras, the boardrooms, the broken heart. He watched her laugh with strangers, hug the sick, pray with the hopeless. She wasn't performing, she was just good. And for the first time in weeks, Damien felt something stir again. Hope. The days turned into a rhythm. Shelter by sunrise, streets by sunset. But each morning, Damien returned, drawn not by the food, but by Amara. She never treated him like a case to fix. She didn't ask about his past. She never once looked at him with pity. She simply saw a man who needed warmth. One morning, she caught him sweeping the shelter steps without being asked. "You work faster than some of the staff," she teased. He shrugged. "Feels good to do something useful." She handed him half a sandwich during lunch. "We're even now," she smiled. "You didn't have to—" "It's just bread," she interrupted. "But when you share it with someone, it means something." Those words clung to him. That night, under a highway bridge, he stared at the sky and replayed every moment. Her laughter, her honesty, her eyes, deep brown and filled with something rare. She didn't know who he was, that he once sat with presidents, that Forbes once called him Tech's golden son. To her, he was just Dan. And strangely, that meant more. Damien sat on a bench outside the shelter, watching kids chase a punctured football across the muddy field. His clothes smelled of sweat and city grime, but for once he didn't care. What haunted him now wasn't the past. It was the truth he was hiding from her. Amara. Every day with her deepened his guilt. She opened up so freely. About her childhood, her struggles, even her dreams of starting a mobile clinic for the homeless someday. Meanwhile, he hid behind a false name, afraid the truth would shatter everything. Could she love him if she knew who he really was? He remembered his father's cold face behind boardroom windows. "Trust no one, Damien. People love money, not men." Those words built his empire and his loneliness. But Amara was different. She laughed with toothless grandpas and held crying addicts without flinching. When she talked to him, she never once looked past him. Still, every time he almost told her the truth, fear gripped his throat. Because if he lost her, he'd lose the first real thing he'd ever found. It was a Tuesday when Amara's shoe finally gave up. The sole split clean in two as she rushed down the shelter steps. She laughed it off, hopping awkwardly. Damien watched her, holding a mop, and grinned. "You need new feet." "No," she smirked, "just new shoes. But my account says try again later." Later that afternoon, Damien disappeared. He returned before dusk and slid a small bag beside her locker. Inside, a pair of gently used sneakers, her exact size. She stared at them, then at him. "You stole these?" she teased, half joking. "No," he said softly. "I traded some hours sweeping at Sammy's thrift shop." Amara blinked. "You did that?" For me? He shrugged, unable to meet her eyes. You've done more for me than anyone ever has. Silence settled, but it wasn't awkward. It was full, honest. That night, under the shelter's dim hallway light, she touched his hand, brief, lingering. Neither said a word, but something had shifted. Love wasn't announced. It was revealed, in shoes, in service, in silence, and both of them felt it growing. The city was unusually quiet. The shelter had closed early after a power cut, and the night air carried the scent of distant suya and soft rain. Damien and Amara sat on the back steps, sharing a stale biscuit and a flask of warm cocoa she had saved. I used to believe love was a scam, she said suddenly, staring into the night. Damien turned to her. What changed? I met people who had nothing. No homes, no families, but still shared their last slice of bread. That's not greed. That's love. He swallowed hard. Did someone hurt you? She nodded. My ex. He made me feel like I had to earn love, like I wasn't enough unless I gave more, did more. He left when I ran out of both. Damien's jaw clenched. He wanted to protect her from past pain, future heartbreak, even from himself. She looked at him. But you're different, Dan. I feel safe with you. And then, slowly, they leaned in. Their foreheads touched, their breaths mingled. But just as their lips almost met, a car alarm shattered the moment. She pulled back, smiling nervously. Damien chuckled. Maybe the universe wants us to wait. But in his chest, his heart thundered with a dangerous truth. He was falling, fast. The storm didn't begin with thunder. It began with a lens. A sharp-eyed journalist named Felix Braith caught sight of Damien one morning while filming a documentary on homelessness. Damien was sweeping outside the shelter when Felix paused, narrowed his eyes, and raised his camera. That's Damien Cole, he muttered, or someone trying really hard not to be. He snapped the photo. By dusk, it hit the blogs. By midnight, it went viral. Billionaire in rags. Is Damien Cole living homeless? The internet exploded. Social media dissected every angle. The shelter was surrounded by vans. Journalists shouted questions. Some mocked, others praised. But the worst storm raged inside Amara. She cornered him behind the kitchen, her face pale, eyes wide. Is it true? Are you... him? Damien's voice caught. Yes, I wanted to find something real. Someone real. You. You lied to me, Damien, she whispered, trembling. I trusted you. He reached for her. Please, Amara. But she stepped back. You said you had nothing. But the truth is, you had everything, and still chose to deceive me. And just like that, the warmth between them turned cold. Amara didn't return to the shelter the next day, or the one after. The media frenzy grew louder, hounding her family, her church, her tiny apartment. Every headline screamed betrayal, from both sides. He fooled her. She was his redemption. Love or experiment? Damien watched it all from a hotel room he hated. He had gone back to his world, but it no longer fit. The silence echoed. The walls suffocated. He tried calling her, texting her, waiting outside the shelter. Nothing. When he finally reached her through a mutual friend, her reply was brief. Give me space. I don't know what's real anymore. Those words broke him more than losing millions ever could. So he did what he could. He donated anonymously to Haven Light Shelter, cleared her student debt, set up a scholarship in her late father's name. Quiet things, private things. Because Damien Cole, once worshipped by the world, finally understood. Love isn't about grand gestures. It's about truth, sacrifice, humility. And if he had to lose her to earn her trust, he would. Weeks passed. The headlines faded. The cameras turned away. But Damien stayed in the shadows. He wore suits again, but they felt like shackles. He spoke on business panels, but his voice was hollow. At night, he returned to the bridge where he'd once slept, not to pity himself, but to remember. The cold, the hunger, the truth. Amara, meanwhile, sat in her tiny apartment, her phone buzzing with apologies and invitations from people who once ignored her. To them, she was now the woman who tamed a billionaire. But she didn't feel triumphant. She felt bruised. She missed Dan, the gentleman who mopped floors, who gave her shoes, who listened without judgment. And she hated that she didn't know which part of him was real. Then, one rainy evening, an envelope arrived with no name, just a seal pressed in wax. Inside was a handwritten letter. No excuses, no blame, just words. I lied about my name, but not about my heart. I never needed you to love Damien Cole. I only hoped you'd still love Dan. Beneath the letter, her father's name on a new health foundation. Funded, operational. Tears spilled before she could stop them. The rain tapped gently on Amara's window as she sat holding the letter, hands trembling. Every word felt handwritten on her soul. No flashy words, no manipulation. Just Damien, raw, broken, honest. And the foundation in her father's name. It wasn't a stunt. It was a memory resurrected. Her father, a kind doctor who once ran free clinics from his car, would have wept with joy. She needed to see him. No media, no stage. Just the man who swept floors beside her and gave her half a biscuit on a quiet night. She walked through the city, past cameras, past whispers, past doubt, and arrived at the place they first met, the shelter's back steps. He was already there, sitting with his head bowed, drenched but waiting. No security, no designer coat, just Dan. He looked up, their eyes locked. I never meant to hurt you, he said quietly. I was just trying to find someone who'd love the man, not the myth. She stepped forward slowly. I didn't fall for a billionaire, Damien. I fell for the man who gave me his only blanket. Then she reached out, and this time their lips met. No thunder, no camera flash, just rain and redemption. Time didn't rush after that moment. It flowed gently, like a river finding its course again. They didn't fall back into love. They rebuilt it, brick by brick. Damien told her everything. The betrayal that broke him. The nights he cried under bridges. The moments he almost gave up. Amara shared her scars, too. The men who mistook her kindness for weakness. The nights she cried alone, wondering if good hearts were doomed to break. Together they carved a space that was quiet, real, and untouched by wealth or status. Damien gave up his position as CEO, stepping into a quieter role, investing in shelters, clinics, and youth initiatives. Amara, with his silent support, expanded her father's legacy. A mobile health program now reached deep into forgotten neighborhoods, offering free checkups, counseling, and meals. They didn't flaunt their love on red carpets. They held hands behind soup lines. They didn't wear crowns. They wore name tags. And when Damien finally asked her to marry him, it wasn't in Paris or Dubai. It was on the back steps of the shelter, with the same half-biscuit they'd once shared. She said yes, through tears and laughter. Because love, real love, had nothing to do with riches. It was born beneath the rags. Ah, my children, let me show you the ending, the kind that tastes like honey after bitter cola. A child runs barefoot across a sunlit courtyard. Laughter dances through the air like palm leaves in the breeze. Behind him stands a building with a name carved in honor, not gold. The Havenlight Wellness Center, in memory of Dr. Ezekiel Adesua, Amara's late dad. Inside, Amara, once mocked for her kindness, now wears a white coat like a queen wears her crown. She heals with her hands. She remembers every face, and beside her, Damien, once the king of skyscrapers, now the man who fixes leaky taps with joy in his chest and dirt on his jeans. They gave up luxury and found meaning. They traded mansions for memories, wealth for warmth. Because, my children, when love is true, it does not ask, "What do you own?" It asks, "Who are you becoming?" And so I say this, let the world chase fame if it must, but you chase purpose, chase truth. And when you find that one who sees your heart beneath the rags, hold them tight. Now listen well and listen deep. If this story moved your spirit, click subscribe so old Yancy may bring you more tales of truth and thunder. Like this video if you believe love can still be pure in a broken world. Drop your thoughts below. Would you walk away from riches to find something real? And share this story with one soul who needs reminding that diamonds fade, but truth remains. Until we meet again, my child, listen not with your ears but with your heart, for that is where all real stories begin. I am Iyansi,